Go is a 1999 crime comedy film directed by Doug Liman, starring Taye Diggs, William Fichtner, Katie Holmes, Breckin Meyer, Jay Moore, Timothy Olyphant, Sarah Polley, Scott Wolf, and so much more. Let's take a quick look.
So what are you up to tonight?
We're going to this party tonight, this warehouse thing.
Some sort of rave thing.
Is this gonna be cool?
Yeah, I guess.
Does the British guy still work here?
We went to Vegas for the weekend.
The British guy usually hooks us up.
Let me see what I can do. Give me a number.
I can't believe you're selling allergy medicine.
Oh, we're out of that. We're down to chewable aspirin.
I think I feel something.
It's really smooth, isn't it?
What do you want for Christmas, Claire?
We just kissed a little, okay?
Wow, he's a drug dealer.
He's a good guy.
Oh, he's the good drug dealer.
Listen, I just want to make a deal here. Can we make a deal?
Are you Monty Hall?
Now watch what I do with his wrist.
Head down like that, bump.
You know, I watch all these cop shows, and they never do it right. Ever.
Keep it close. Just an extra $10 in it for you. Get in the car.
You stole a car, shot a bouncer, and had sex with 2 women?
So now you're an entrepreneur.
You shouldn't do this, Ronna.
Just drive.
Well, if you gotta go.
From Doug Liman, the director of Swingers, Taye Diggs, William Fichtner, Katie Holmes, Breckin Meyer, Jay Moore, Timothy Olyphant, Sarah Polley, Scott Wolf.
You know what I like best about Christmas?
Mistletoe?
The surprises.
When there's nothing to do
So, Zack, would you say you're open to new things?
except what you've done.
Is your British ass happy now?
When you've gone too far to stop.
If there's no body, there's no crime. We'll put her in the trunk. Stop! What? Stop it! What? It's a Miata!
Hey, man, I told you my mother's mother was
Your
black.
mother's
My
fun. This
mother's
ain't
mother's
roots.
mother-in-law
If you were
black.
any less black, you would be clear.
Nothing will take you farther.
It's stuck.
Give me that gun!
Go.
It's alright, I'm okay.
So welcome back to the Cult of Films. That's right, we're going over 1999's Go, directed by Doug Liman. This is the director that brought you Swingers and The Edge of Tomorrow, which is kind of makes sense now that you think about it. This is of the time back in the 90s, all the buzz were the movies that were shot out of sequence, which probably got pioneered by Quentin Tarantino with Pulp Fiction. Go is very much kind of in the same vein, except if it was meant for, I guess, whatever the generation before millennials were. This is 1999 in a time capsule, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's fast-paced, it's a ton of fun. Go is just a thrill ride from start to finish. It's funny, exciting, all the things, and we're gonna dive deep into all of this, because it's just simply one of my favorite cult classic films, and this very much I think qualifies as a cult classic. This had a budget of $20 million, made $28.5 million back, so made, gross like 8.5, but if you know anything about the film industry with marketing and all that it really didn't make any money, probably lost quite a bit actually. But Doug Liman, let's talk about Doug Liman real quick. Like I stated before, he is responsible for Swingers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jumper, Edge of Tomorrow. I guess he's kind of picking up the pace a little bit more lately, where he has Chaos Walking, Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat, which I don't know if that's the official name or kind of the code name for the sequel for Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow took everyone by storm. Probably my favorite Tom Cruise movie of all time, and Emily Blunt. But this was favorite Doug Liman film. And that's just because it is just so much fun. Like Swingers, of course, it is a classic. Or Go, it was his spin on the whole, shooting out a sequence comedy with a giant ensemble cast. And we're talking about the who's who of 90s especially like comedians, where you had like Jay Moore and Scott Wolf. Like, when was the last time you saw Scott Wolf in something? And Scott Wolf is fantastic. There isn't an ounce of fat from the performances turned into this movie. It was so good seeing Timothy Olyphant in this as the drug dealer. First off, before I dive into the plot synopsis, this was written by John August, and John August was responsible for writing things like the Charlie's Angels film franchises. Not very, nothing to really write home about. I wasn't a huge fan. But he also wrote and adapted, like, Big Fish, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which the latter, like Big Fish, is one of my favorite movies of all time. So he is, John August, he has some directorial credits under his belt, but he's more known as a adapter of other things as far as a screenwriter goes. And this script is just so much fun. It all centers around a group of people that work at a grocery store, Desmond Askew and Sarah Polley. Sarah Polley basically is the main character. Her name is Ronna. The whole movie takes place in 3 different storylines, but they're all interconnected in some way, and it's kind of it'll show you a bit, like, up to a point, and then it will kind of start over from a person's different point of view. And Ronna's is I guess, if there was a main character, she's down on her luck. I guess she's 17 years old in this, where she is about to be evicted. So it's around Christmas time, and she's just trying to do anything she can, whether it be pickup shifts or even kind of overstep her bounds, dip her toe into the drug dealing world, so to speak, just to be able to pay her rent, or else she will be evicted on Christmas. As Simon states, she'll be ho-ho homeless. Her friends, Katie Holmes plays Claire. This is one of the early Katie Holmes films, and again, this is around the time when Katie Holmes was just kind of exploding onto the scene theatrically. I think Dawson's Creek, right around this time, 1999, has just ended, a year or two ago, so she started kind of popping up on the big screen with stuff like Disturbing Behavior, which is another one of my personal favorites. I think another cult classic. Probably not as well received as Go, because Go was a critical just smash hit. Like, everybody, this movie just went over so well, and everyone loved it, but no one showed up to the movie theater to watch it, which was a problem. Which kind of makes sense. Like, these are the kind of things that, like, nowadays the industry has kind of shifted towards. These type of movies would go on more of like a streaming service platform. Like, I could see this being a Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, either original TV show. Oh God, I would love to see a Go TV show, or even a film where, nowadays you don't really see this kind of comedies or crime comedies are kind of fading out. It takes like a real big backer to really put one, to make one of these type of genre movies successful nowadays. And with the people that were backing it up, even though it had some very talented actors in it, there was no huge star that was going to lead people into the box office. You didn't have to go see Breckenmeyer or Taye Diggs at the time to put butts in seats, even though as an ensemble cast, it just worked out so fantastic. Rona's friend Manny, he's also there. Let's even scale it back a little bit more. Simon he's another grocery clerk, meeting up with his friends to go to Las Vegas because they want to go kind of live it up. They all live in Los Angeles, so they decide to go to Las Vegas. That's when he meets up with Taye Diggs, and Breckenmeyer's character is one of those homies, but he has to give his shift away, so he's able to do that. And being that Ronna is so strapped for cash, she accepts his shift because he decides to give her cash up front, throwing $20 extra for something a little bit extra, but she meets that with a big middle finger, so she's not that desperate, thankfully. Oh, a Starbucks cup. It's like I'm a Game of Thrones episode. Immediately, while she's at work, Scott Wolf and Jay Moore, they're buying copious amounts of orange juice, and they try to see if Simon's around to get 20 hits of ecstasy. Obviously, Simon has gone to Vegas, so he is not available. I guess he is the normal kind of like underling, Simon doubles as like an underling drug dealer to a bigger drug dealer played by Timothy Olyphant. His name is Todd Gaines in the film. So Simon's not around. So again, Ronna is in desperate straits. So she tries to kind of overstep her bounds and just, cut out the middleman, go straight to Simon's dealer, which is Todd. She tries to get the pills, and they want 20 of 20 because I guess that's the mythical number to bust someone for drug trafficking, because little do we know. And you know, I'll just stop right here and just say spoilers throughout. If you haven't seen this film, it was released in 1999, so I am going to talk about spoilers. Please go watch this movie, though. It's not streaming on anything, so you might have to seek it out a little bit, unfortunately. But it is absolutely worth it. This movie is just a ton of fun. But this is the final warning. Spoilers throughout. So Ronna goes to Todd's apartment. He's as much surprised as to see her as she is to see him, because she is asking for a very odd number of amount of ecstasy pills, because that's what Jay Moore and Scott Wolf approached her with, that number, to go have a bro party at this rave that everyone knows about. So immediately you could tell from the very beginning of this film, as far as the music goes, like the just fantastic score. There's Portishead. It's just such a good soundtrack. It's just so smartly shot. It's shot, of course, like Swingers, where it's not just a run-of-the-mill comedy. Everything has good shot composition. It's just edited so well. It's so jumpy, so crisp, so clean, and so smart, so smartly written. Like, immediately Todd gets the red flags. Everyone acts like smart people, maybe a little bit too much, where I guess Ronna is the exception, because they want to kind of drive the point home that she is kind of in over her head, so she kind of makes the bad decisions, but everyone else is just kind of keen to what's going on. And, you know, as soon as she asks for that amount of pills, he kind of makes her stand up and take off her clothes and spin around. She's probably thinking, oh my god, what the hell's going on? This is not what I signed up for. But realistically, he's just looking for a wire because of these numbers. The great line is, you know, she needs a favor. She wants it sold at the same rate that Simon gets, even though that Simon is her drug dealer. He tells her that he doesn't give favors. You know, he rather give head before he gives favors, and he doesn't even give his best friend's head. So it's just such, like, funny dialogue, even in these kind of high tense, stressful situations. Timothy Olyphant, this is like the best Timothy Olyphant, and I love that Timothy Olyphant kind of had a resurgence with Santa Clarita Diet. That show I thought was so funny. Even Drew Barrymore is really good in it. Unfortunately, it just ended. Hopefully they could find a new home for it, but I love seeing Timothy Olyphant. I think, you know, in Girl Next Door, he was great. I think Scream 2. I've always been a big, you know, Timothy Olyphant fan. He plays a good bully, and in this, as a just like shirtless kind of scumbag but charming drug dealer, it's just the best role for him. So, you know, she doesn't have I think she's like $100 short. So instead of taking less pills, because she's trying to make this deal and actually make some money and save her place of residence, he offers that she needs to leave some kind of collateral, and a fucking swatch isn't gonna cut it. So she winds up leaving Katie Holmes, Claire, with him while she goes and attempts to make this deal. Well, of course, the deal breaks down. This is kind of where we get the introduction to William Fichtner's character. His name is Burke, kind of in this like just throwaway house, stakeout house, entrapment house. I don't know what you want to call it. Real creepy, because this house has like the bathroom has a spot for like a window, so he could like look through the window at people that are using the restroom. Very bizarre. Automatically, they already start fumbling the ball, because it gets later on. We find out Jay Moore and Scott Wolf are actually soap opera stars, but got pinched for buying drugs. So as their penance, they're working undercover to kind of take down either Simon or Todd, just kind of knock down these local drug dealers. So little does, you know, Sarah Pauli's character know that they are kind of working for Burke, and immediately, you know, the amateur hour is just so apparent, and they start fumbling the ball right away. She's very smart in this particular scene, where she asks some orange juice, because that's what they came to buy earlier for all the ecstasy they bought, and of course couldn't produce it. So, you know, Burke gives her, "Yo, we don't have orange juice, sweetie, so here's a beer." And smartly, all these warnings kind of pop off in her head. She immediately rushes to the restroom, throws all the pills down the toilet, and leaves. That's when, we have our first conundrum where she finds out that Manny actually skimmed 2 pills off the top, where Todd tells her in the beginning of the film, don't, 1 per head banger. These are pharmaceutical grade ecstasy pills where you're going to be cooking eggs off people. Not to say that I have or haven't experienced these kind of things. He is taken too much, and I love Manny, played by Nathan Bexton. You have this fun little scene of him at the grocery store hallucinating, dancing the Macarena with a coworker. Ronna cooks up a plan and decides to screw over Todd, the crazy, scary drug dealer, even though that he just gave her all the favors and all the head, and with her best friend sitting there as collateral. So she's going to buy all these baby aspirins and different kind of allergy medicines to try to stuff the bottle back in and be like, oh, sorry, someone showed up, and kind of scoop the deal to these guys that wanted to buy it beforehand. So again, he does her a solid, only skims $50 off the deal and sends her on her way. During that whole exchange, it's one of my favorite scenes, again with Manny just kind of freaking out. Like, it always, the film is paced so greatly, because even when it's just like, it's supposed to be a scene of like 2 people talking in a room, like Sarah Polley talking to Timothy Oliphant, talking about how the deal kind of broke down. In the meantime, your POV is Manny freaking out, having a Professor X conversation with the cat about, ancient dead Chinese celebrities, and then the cat just gets real fast and says that he's gonna die real soon, which is, it's just hilarious. Go to the rave, and it kind of flashes back and forth between Manny, Claire, and Ronna. She decides that, this is gonna be, it's not gonna be all for nothing. She's gonna sell these pills to all the candy kids at the rave. I don't know if any of you are old enough to have been in a rave, or too old to have been in a rave. This was another thing that I really appreciated from our director, Doug Liman, is just how it was shot. Like, this movie is definitely shot by someone that has experienced these type of things and have lived, walked in the shoes of these kind of kids. It never felt like adults writing like kid language or teenage language. Everyone acted of their age, and everything felt very authentic. And even her going through and messing with these candy kids, the people that are going to the raves, she's just kind of selling off these allergy medications and baby aspirins, where people are just like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, and overpaying for it, because, when you buy things on site, inflation's a bitch, as Timothy Oliphant states. So then, of course, being a shrewd businessman as Todd is, he kind of looks at his returned goods, and he very quickly realizes that this is not the stuff that he's given her. So he grabs a gun and goes to the rave to seek her out and essentially kill her. Scott Wolf and Jay Moore wind up backing up. They wind up at the rave for other reasons, kind of during their POV story, but they back up and hit Sarah Polley and seemingly kill her. Like, she flies down a ditch and is just like, looks to be broken in half, where they freak out. Timothy Oliphant kind of sees the whole thing goes down, holsters his gun and goes, okay, I guess my work here is done. Justice was served without him even having to cock the gun. So then we go to I believe we go to the Vegas story. Well, I'll just talk about each one individually. So that's kind of the main through line that sets everything in motion. That's Ronna's story. Where Simon's story, this is more of just your fast-paced, in-your-face kind of fun, kind of a heist movie. Not really heist, but just so much it's really a Vegas vacation. And of course, someone like a Doug Liman, who was the one that filmed Swingers, is very much familiar with this city, and especially I'm familiar with this city. I lived in Vegas for 22 years. So, it's just, they do all the Vegas tropes. All the guys are eating at the buffet, and they're just like, don't eat the shellfish, you're going to get sick. And, of course, you got the one guy in the group that's going to eat all the shrimp, and he's just, like, laid up the entire rest of the movie just with like, chronic diarrhea because he's just eating buffet shrimp, like, tons of it. And, of course, he's going to get sick. It's disgusting anyways. Little known fact about me, I love sushi. I hate cooked seafood. I think that shrimp or lobster or anything like that is like chewing on an eyeball, so I stay far away from it. So craziness ensues. Someone mistakes, I think, Simon for Taye Diggs' character. Taye Diggs is really underrated in this. He's kind of the voice of reason, like the cool guy that he plays like the straight guy. His name is Marcus in it.
Yo, man, I told you my mother's mother was black.
Mother's this ain't Roots, mother. Man, I want to see a picture of this Nubian princess. Okay,
I'm wearing pictures of my mother's mother in
if
my
you were any less black, you would be clear.
That bitch was black as night.
Okay, stop, Troops!
Shut up! Man, I see black, because I know I am. See, color's a state of mind, Marcus.
You know what? You're right. Thank you, Rhythm Nation.
Rich asshole kind of throws him keys to this really nice car because they just assume that he is the valet driver. So, of course, they all jump in. They have like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off type moment. And then we see Simon going through the glove compartment and he finds his giant gun. So, of course, they wind up at a strip club, as most Vegas trips do wind up in strip clubs. Not me. Simon gets very touchy with one of the strippers. Shit goes down, and he winds up shooting one of the bouncers. So the rest of the time is just like getting out of Vegas as fast as possible. Before that, I think they crash a wedding, and Simon winds up having like sex with two of the bridesmaids, and like setting the hotel room on fire. That's where it gets kind of like, no one has this crazy of a Vegas trip. Like that was the one thing when I worked in Vegas, especially down on the Strip, where people kind of don't act like people anymore, especially on the phones, like dealing with casino workers and the hospitality workers. And people really do divulge into their like gross carnal selves. But, this guy, Simon's just like having the best day ever, where he's, eating everything he wants, having sex with everything he wants, and then, of course, shooting a bouncer and then having to flee the scene. And that's kind of the Vegas story in a nutshell. I'm kind of short selling it, but it is a ton of fun, and it's not one of those kind of noxious dude bro moments. It's very smartly shot, and there is some good tension in those chase scenes as well. Kind of rounds out where we really get to kind of focus in on Jay Moore and Scott Wolf, who's Adam and Zack. We find out that they are soap opera stars. Again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, they are they kind of get in a pinch because they get arrested by Burke for selling ecstasy, and so they basically just have to work undercover. The whole film kind of starts over, and you get to kind of see it through their perspective, as did when Simon kind of held the reins, so to speak. We got to see, the same opening sequences, even from Ronna's story, again, just in different POV. Once we get to Zack and Adam's story, we find out what happens after the drug dealer breaks down with Ronna. When she leaves, it immediately Mark is like slamming one of them. Oh shit, like this didn't go well. But then he's just like, you know what, these things happen, whatever, we tried our best, why don't you come on back to the house for a good old wholesome dinner with the wife and I. And oh my god, that's where it gets pretty damn funny.
What does that smell like? CK1, right? But it's not. It's very nice. Hey, try.
Down.
So is the liner.
Yeah, it's really soft.
Get on.
Oh no, I gotta go help with dinner.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Exactly. Individually wrapped springs, top quality. Hey, I could do aerobics over here and you wouldn't feel it.
I bet I wouldn't.
So Zack, would you say you're open to new things?
immediately we just see that his wife is kind of over-sexualized, bending over and taking out the meatloaf in very provocative ways. And then even with Burke, has no problem getting naked and kind of spraying himself and asking, a lot of questions if they're enjoying themselves there, which is a really funny misdirection, because the whole time we think that they might be, Burke and his wife are actually like swingers, even though he's a cop. It turns out that, the big reveal is that they're just trying to sign Zack and Adam up for Amway or Confederated Products. It's a completely different thing, according to Burke. So the intention is, I guess, wholesome. Even though it's kind of weird how they get there. They're very awkward with it. Adam and Zack wind up leaving kind of scot-free. And then we find out that Adam and Zack are actually lovers, and they're actually boyfriends, and they are kind of breaking up or broken up because they have both been cheated on. And then they find out that they were both cheated on with the same, they both cheated on each other with the same person. So that's how they kind of wind up at the rave. They confront the cheater, cheater inciter. I don't know. The person that they both screwed. And they wind up like kind of cutting off this guy's hair. And that's when they just accidentally back into Sarah Polley and just kind of brings everything together and goes full circle. Claire can't find anyone. Manny was stuffed under some debris because he is like completely a baked potato with all the ecstasy that he took. And little does she know, but Ronna is literally lying in a ditch somewhere at this rave. So she decides to just say, screw it. Everyone's just like the worst, and she's the only one that kind of kept her head together, and she decides to go get some breakfast. Little does she knows, there's Todd Gaines.
What do you have against the family circus?
Okay. You sit down and read your paper, and you're enjoying your entire 2-page comic spread, right? And then there's the family fucking circus, bottom right-hand corner, just waiting to suck. And that's the last thing you read, so it spoils everything you read before it.
You could just not read it.
I hate it, yet I'm uncontrollably drawn to it. Are you gonna...
Sees this as some kind of a sign, because you could kind of tell when she was sitting in his apartment earlier as collateral, there was maybe a little bit of a spark or connection there, at least from his side.
What do you want for Christmas, Claire?
I don't know.
Do you want to get laid?
No.
No, you don't want to get laid, or no, you do, but you don't want to get laid with me.
Look, they'll be here.
They'll be here. Are you a virgin?
What?
Come on, Claire. Answer the question. Answer the question, Claire.
Oh. Breakfast Club, I get it. Very funny.
But, they decide that, hey, it's a good idea. They start making out on the stairs. And then the bouncers from Vegas wind up tracking the credit card back to Todd's place. And very willingly, Todd gives up Simon as he kind of happens to burst through the door. Instead of murdering Simon for shooting the bouncer, they all decide that it's fair to just shoot him in the arm, and Claire just gets fed up and leaves. She wakes up in the hospital. She's not dead. She makes enough money for rent. They forget that they stuffed Manny in an alley, so they have to go back to the rave site, kind of unearth him, and then it kind of ends on a, so what are we doing for New Year's? So that's the long and short of the synopsis of the film. Again, it is just so much fun. This film is a blast. It is a million miles a second. If you are a fan of swingers, or if you're a fan of Pulp Fiction, this is kind of like Pulp Fiction. Like if Pulp Fiction is the Justice League, not the movie, like the actual good comic book, then this is like Teen Titans for sure. It's not like it's a lesser of a movie, although kind of is. It's not like the stakes aren't as high, it's not as crazy, but it's so well crafted and so much fun. And there's so many things that have happened, like so many films that kind of came out since, even like a Hangover, where this was just smarter, funnier, leaner, and just better. So what did you think about Go? If you haven't seen it, please go do it. I recommend it to everyone. Is this one of your favorite cult films? This is definitely one of mine. Do you like this? Do you like this format? How about me just talking to you? Tell me in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support us here and what we're doing here on They Said, We Said, and everything else as far as movies and whatnot goes. Go ahead and become a patron at patreon.com. But until next time, what are we doing for New Year's?
Even that cologne you liked.